Time to bring in our Monday afternoon political strategist, Grahame Morris, here with me in the studio, and Bruce Hawker in the Sky News Centre. Welcome to you both. Bruce, I just want to start with you and get some thoughts on how you think Bill Shorten is going. 1 year in the job as opposition leader. You've worked with a number of Labor leaders, state and federal, in government and opposition. How's he gone in this first year? Has he done the things he needs to do in that first year of opposition?
Well, very few opposition leaders after 1 year in the job have got the same sort of two-party preferred rankings that Labor has enjoyed in recent months, David. So you've got to say that the first test of bringing the party back into contention has been a big plus for him. He's got a tick for that. And I think,
is that the best measure, though, of how you're going, just being ahead in the polls?
It's a significant one. I think if you're languishing badly, then clearly people will start pointing the finger at the leader for not punching a message through. So that's important. I think the second thing is that he has clearly brought the party together, and after 3 years of tearing ourselves apart, that couldn't have come a moment too soon, and he's got to get credit for that as well. I think where he does need to really start asserting himself in the second year in opposition is as the person who really is driving Labor's agenda, and I think I've always felt that the opposition leader who is bigger than the party is the one who will take them out of opposition and into government. You saw that with people like Hawke. You saw it with Whitlam and others. They have to be big personalities, and I think now that Bill has laid the groundwork with the first year, I think it's time for him to start asserting himself quite forcefully as the alternative Prime Minister.
It's an interesting point there, Grahame. The polls aren't the be-all and end-all, but gee, they help, don't they? If you're doing well, if you're competitive, if you're ahead, it shuts up the internal critics, the media critics, everybody else.
That's right. And Bruce is sort of right on the two-party preferred poll. But you have a look at the Labor poll. Labor Party's vote at the last election was 33.3%. The last official poll 2 weeks ago, Labor was 34%. Well done, Leader Shorten. Yeah, look. Opposition leader. Opposition leader is one of the hardest jobs in Australia. We all know that. He's had a little bit of luck. He was also, I think, very lucky that most of the Labor Party decided that any of the ills in the last 30 years are because Mrs Rudd gave birth to a fellow called Kevin, and we blamed everything on Kevin. Look, he's held the team together, but I think Bruce is right. We have yet to see whether or not there's a Bill Shorten who's a leader can make a tough decision. And David, even in your interview just then, opposition leader Shorten was saying all opposition leaders before the election should announce where their cuts are coming from, how they're going to pay for everything. Before the next election, he's got to find $30 billion worth of savings that doesn't include the parental payment
I don't know if it's 30 billion, but it's a lot of money he's got to find
$30 billion before he starts promising 1 cent. And that is hard and be very vulnerable to a where's the money coming from campaign.
Those questions, no doubt, will become sharper closer to the next election. You say no tough decisions, but was standing by the carbon tax, given the thumping Labor got, a tough call, do you think, Grahame, for Bill Shorten? And was he right not to run away?
It wasn't tough because he knew the Senate was going to knock it off. And it seems to me
only
that if
Labor was voting to keep it in place.
It seems to me at the moment, if you ask the electorate who is the main effective opposition leader, there'd be sort of Bill Shorten would be there. There'd be that big bloke called Palmer, whatever his name is, and there'd be others. It'd be a bit confusing because Palmer has sort of usurped
There's
him.
no doubt about that. But Bruce, do you think things like the carbon tax, the mining tax, these are issues that no doubt voters rejected at the last election, but Bill Shorten decided Labor would stand by them? It caused a lot of criticism. It may not have been a popular move, but was it the right move, do you think?
Well, I think it was a statement of principle. You know, these are Labor values that he wanted to present. You know, it is very important that there be a price on carbon, and that is the position that will be taken to the next election. They've made it pretty clear that it'll be a market-based mechanism that Labor will support in the coming election. So I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think people look for you know, leaders of the opposition to be able to say, you know, these are things which we, you know, we will really hold absolutely dear to us.
It won't be an easy policy process for him, though, coming up to the next election, will it?
No, it won't be, and obviously these things are always hard, particularly in a party like the Labor Party, where every 1+1 has got an opinion, and they're going to express it at the party conference and wherever else they can.
But so does Tony Abbott, and he'll hammer whatever they put out there.
Oh yes, and that's got to be taken into account. That's why it's very important for Labor to focus on, you know, the nastiness of this government, the cuts that it is looking to introduce above and beyond the call of duty to health, education, and so forth. They need to take the argument there rather than be focusing on what happened in previous election campaigns.
Now, Vladimir Putin, he's coming to the G20. It doesn't seem like a great surprise, Grahame, at the end of the day. But there's been a lot of chest thumping about this, and Tony Abbott today said he's going to shirtfront the Russian president. I'm sure he means figuratively, but...
Good luck, they're both fairly physical blokes.
They're both fairly physical blokes.
You know, I'm not Putin advisor. Thank the Lord I'm not, sir. But what if, yes, he's coming, and this is an economic forum, and he probably should be here, and he'll get the rounds of the kitchen. But if he had any class, and if I were advising him, I'd be saying, look, you touch down in Australia, Tiger, and you call a press conference and you say, look, I am very sorry for what happened with the aeroplane, and I understand the pain and the hurt of all of those Australian families. Now, half of Australia is going to say, well, yeah, so you should, da-da-da. But others would say, oh, well, that took a bit of guts, now let's get back to the economy. Now, you know, I don't know if he has the wit to do it. I would.
How do you think the PM should... I mean, he says he's going to shirt front him. What is he going to need to do? He's going to have to shake his hand. That'll be on camera, all of that. But how does he get that...
He's got to shake his hand.
How does he get across to the Australian people that he is serious
you
about
always
this?
do it behind closed doors. I think it is really, really poor form, you know, to do these sort of things publicly. He is here for an economic summit. He should be here. He's the leader of a big economy. Yeah. But every second journalist is going to be looking for, not the handshake, but when they turn away from each other, back to back. Bing, there's the front page.
Bruce, what do you reckon? Was it unavoidable that he would come?
Well, I think once he decided he was going to come, all that Abbott could do was to take a tough line on it, and that's what he has done. I mean, he was never going to be able to stop him coming effectively as the leader, one of the leaders of the G20. If he decided he wanted to attend, he was going to. So now it's about Abbott presenting a tough position to him, you know, and shirt fronting him, or whatever you want to say. And so I think there will be, as Grahame says, some shots, some headlines, which he'll try to exploit to say, you know, I told him so. But really, when it was decided by Putin's people that he was going to attend, Abbott really had no other place to go than to say he was going to be pointing his finger, at least figuratively, into his chest at some stage in these discussions.
Just a quick one, we're nearly out of time, Grahame. Ebola. Fortunately, the Queensland nurse has been discharged from hospital now, second negative test on Ebola. Still people are worried about this. Do you think we've got it right in terms of the quarantine?
I do, and I don't understand some of these medicos. You know, we have strict rules on diseases for cows, for horses, for oranges, apples with fruit fly, for sheep. You know, we would never send our cattle stud into, you know, mad cow disease countries.
These are people, though.
And here we are saying we should send our people into areas where there is a shocking disease. You know, the Americans got brave last week and said, hey, we can sort this out. And the first nurse, the very first nurse who tried to treat somebody has got the disease. I reckon the PM would have his head red, or should have his head red, if he said, OK, let's send our people into these disease areas when we wouldn't send our animals or our oranges.
We've got to go. We're out of time. But food for thought there, Grahame Morris, Bruce Hawker. Good to catch up with both of you. We'll see you next week.